Hi friends, in this session I shall be speaking to the world famous artist Ian Berry. He's probably the the only artist who made denim so famous as an art. All of us have heard so much about him. He has literally turned the denim into an art and has created so many creations, and all from old denim. Which this art has not only given a unique way to look at the denim, but also given another dimension to the concept of circularity in many ways. And I don't think he needs too much of an introduction because all of us know him so well. So may I request Ian to kindly join us for this talk. Hi, Ian.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. It's London's getting a bit scary at the moment, but it's what we've been used to.
I really hope because I've been hearing a lot of lockdowns coming back again in London.
Yeah, it seems that way. My parents and all of the north of England are getting tighter rules and things. But as you know, I live in lockdown most of the time anyway, and luckily my studio's part of my house as well.
So probably you were not as affected by the lockdowns as most of us was because. Ian, your shirt is looking wonderful. It's an indigo shirt, no?
Yeah, so actually it's my work shirt. So I'm in the studio now working and broke off to come and do the call. So it's my friend sent it from France, the place, because I think they're actually quite famous French work shirts. But her dad actually had a factory in France, and she sent some of them because I'd seen them in Brick Lane markets and things quite expensive. But she sent a few, and I've chosen this one to work with. And if you can see, I've got my work pants on, and
that's wonderful.
So it's not special design. So it's all glue. It's like when I'm wiping, I wipe the glue on it. Yeah. So it's not like some like really trendy design.
Absolutely. You're given a totally new dimension to denim. How creative do you think denim is?
How creative is denim? Well, it's a strange one. It's like if you look on the surface, like if someone took a 5-pocket pair of jeans and compared it to the Levi's, kind of the famous jean that was invented so many years ago. It probably hasn't changed that much, and it's just like, well, is it creative? And it's a difficult question because there's a lot of creative people in denim, and it's a lot of people that you don't often see. The people that I've been absolutely fascinated by are the people who work in the laundries, and the kind of the way that they can wash things, like the people at, like, for example, like Tonello, but even like Juan Manuel, all the different processes I learned from them. And I remember going to see Marino D'Angelis in Italy, Iscoteca, and he just blew my mind. And that side I found was really, really creative, and I think there's creative people find like sustainable ways. But I mean, I'm an artist. I meet very creative people. I used to work in advertising with very, very creative people who made me feel very inadequate, often like the most quickest, smartest, creative people. And I think education is part of it. And some people in denim is so amazingly creative, but others sometimes maybe not. And I've got to be careful about who I'm speaking to here. Maybe like so sometimes I find it very, very oh, I see that. Oh, we can do that. Let's do that. And but as I say, like, it's very, very hard to change the actual maybe design of it. Often it's quite subtle, and if you change it so much, sometimes it becomes a fad. So the timeless material of jeans, I don't know. And does it need to be creative? I think there's creative ways of making the actual textile, the fabric. But is it creative? There's certainly creative ways of using it. I've got to be careful not to insult anybody, because there's obviously amazing people working out there on different elements of it. But I mean, I'll throw a question back to you. Like, can you say denim is creative? Is jeans as a garment creative?
Yeah,
because sometimes is it the runt of the fashion world? Sometimes, like, does it appear Like, does the fashion world see it? Does it come in sometimes? I mean, I'm I just said beforehand, I'm not an expert on denim. People think I'm, an expert on jeans and things. And yes, I know more than probably the common person now, and know a lot of interesting things of denim. But put me in a room of denim heads, which strangely happens now, and I feel completely stupid.
No, nothing like that.
So take everything I say with a pinch of salt. I mean, my background was advertising, like marketing. I used to, work for quite big brands like British Airways and Nissan and Talisker Whiskey and Guinness. So that's where I worked with like some really, really creative people. Sometimes the marketing in denim, I think, could leave a lot to be desired. To try and do something original, to try and do something really creative, I think, sometimes could be really pushed. But over the years, there's been some brilliant ad campaigns and things. So it's a balance. It's like everything. And I mean, the other interesting thing I would say about denim is a bubble. I worked in advertising, which is nearly 12, 13 years since I've worked in that. And like it's like denim. I've noticed because I follow that a little bit now, and like denim, I've only got like one or two little toes in it. I'm not in the center of denim. I kind of dip my toe in it sometimes, and then in other worlds. So I see it from outside, and sometimes it reminds me of the advertising where we used to make advertising sometimes to other people in advertising rather than thinking about the end consumer. It was often like making ads with a certain language, like visual language, word language, very, very clever, what we thought was very, very clever, which would go out. And I think sometimes in denim, it can get a little bit like that. You have the celebrities in denim, like we have the idols in advertising, and it becomes like a little bit of a bubble where we're all watching each other. And I've noticed myself, I'm on Instagram, and probably about a third of the things I follow now are denim related. So I'm swiping up, and it's like how like it's if I was using oil paints, am I following the oil industry? Am I going to oil industry events? I know it's completely different, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I've met loads of fascinating and amazing people through denim, and a lot of friends now, and I've learned a lot and learned to respect a lot of the different sides of denim as well. The one big fascinating thing, and when I started it, I wouldn't have a clue about raw denim selvage, so long ago now. But coming across all the denim heads now, I find really, really fascinating, and they actually see it as art, like the fading, and that's something which I've really become to admire and respect. Because a lot of my work obviously isn't faded denim. A lot of the beauty of my work is probably from the laundry techniques of making the fades and the cat's whiskers as much as wear. So I'm very aware of that, because probably raw denim is, and wearing it to evolve to be faded is probably a lot more sustainable long run than the denim that I'm using, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I think you are a denim expert with an outsider's perspective. Yeah, totally. You're outside from the industry, but you are actually an expert of using this product, and you're giving it a totally different perspective, art perspective.
Well, I'm learning different ways of using it all the time. Like different parts of the jeans, where I find different fades, and open up the hem, and a lot of the magic in my work is in those parts. But it's even like now with like the machinery that the denim industry seems to be using, like the laser machines and the washing techniques. I turned my nose up at it years ago, because I was like, I'm an artist, I've got to do it all myself, I've got to do all this, and like almost that kind of like, if it's not been painful to make, it's not great. But as I've done work with Tonello and different mills, making like the different gardens, for example, or the kind of installation sides which complement the work. We talked off screen about you seeing the smallest gallery in Soho, the record store, and most of that, the front of it was all handmade in denim, whereas the back was all lasered to give that kind of text and like the textures of it and the depth in the actual store.
The carton was wonderful, I remember that. And now coming to your lockdown project, especially the iClap, tell me about that, because iClap became globally famous. It went around the world. And of course other lockdown projects you've done during this period.
Well, you call it a lockdown project. It wasn't even supposed to be what it turned out to be. It was, like I strangely enjoyed the first couple of weeks of lockdown. Everything that I was going to do, like little milestones in the year, were kind of all cancelled. And then I had until the fall to actually create work for 2 museum shows. And I was like, oh, I've got this time. It's nice. It's quite cathartic. I just can work, get my head down, and and I started, was the campaign that you joined as well, the isolation project. That wasn't supposed to be like a big look at me project. It was just basically out of necessity, because the week of lockdown, I had 3 different shoots which were all cancelled, and that was kind of what the work I was going to make, because I work from photography and all my own photography, all ones that I've commissioned. And it was more like, hey guys, like, if you got some things. But then I was getting like really great photos in, so we said, like, why don't we show these in the museum? But that was like the first week of lockdown, and then within a few weeks lots of different people are doing these kind of like isolation pictures, and it just became kind of, even now a lot of people are jaded by a lot of the talk of it, because we're just exhausted. I think everyone's just so exhausted by COVID talk and lockdowns and like trying to plan anything. So I think people just don't want that at the moment. So I kind of tempered that down a little bit. But at the same time, the Thursday clapping happened in the UK, and my son was just engrossed by it. It was just like, what is it for? And we could explain to him. And I think that was the beauty of it from my side, is that I could tell him where he was engaged with it. Where he, if we was to tell him about hospitals prior, he'd probably be like, oh, whatever. And but he could see that it was something to be grateful for, to be something to be admired. And I'm trying to avoid the word hero, because I know a lot of them don't like to be called hero, but if we clap for footballers, we clap at the end of the theatre, we clap for all these different people, and then they were getting the clap. And he was just so interested every day. Is it Thursday? Is it Thursday? And he was always the first one out, which brought a lot of our neighbours out. And this is London, which isn't known for being the most neighbourly place, because I'm northern and from a very kind of neighbourly kind of area. And it was just great to see all the neighbours come out. And some, for some people, it was the only time in a while to see them. So we were, he was making rainbows, and we were just talking, and we ended up deciding to do a pair of clapping hands. And I probably should have done his, but we did mine. And it was just to send as greeting cards to some of my friends in the NHS and that, and it accidentally just took off. He wanted to project it. He'd been watching films on the projector while he should have been probably doing his homework and schoolwork. And we ended up beaming it off the balcony, and it just took off, and went well out of my control. I was waking up, but waking up during the night often, and having messages of, we just projected on here, it's just going to miss building. And it was great, and it got some momentum. But just as it was getting momentum, we spoke off screen about the politics. The UK politics at the moment leaves a lot to be desired. There's a lot of division, a lot of it's almost as bad as America, where one camp hates the other camp, and it got pulled into all that because I to be honest, I stay away from politics. It's not worth it. I try and think of people as fundamentally good. It's very hard at the moment. But with that, it was very, very hard, because even I had, interviews with newspapers and TV, and it was the first time in my life that I did it. Because I always had this kind of thing. I never tell anybody that I'm going to be on TV, because I always think it's going to jinx it and you're going to get bumped. So I never did that, and it always actually went on. And then I started to say, oh, I'm going to be on TV tonight. And it never was. And it was often, one newspaper, one national paper, I went out and bought. I would never buy it. Walked back, opened it, couldn't find it. And the journalist said, oh, yeah, sorry, the editor took it out and just put a big picture of Boris Johnson clapping. And I think that was where that was one of the problems with it, is that to see the politicians at both sides. You know, like the news every week just showed the politicians clapping, and that's not what people wanted to see. They wanted to see the children, they wanted to see the nurses, they wanted to see that. They didn't want to see these political leaders who are getting judged rightly or wrongly on their decisions. You know, it wasn't about the politics. So it just got really, really negative. So I stopped it. It carried on. You know, I stopped talking about it a long time ago, but there's projections in different countries around the world afterwards. But I was just like, look, guys, please keep on doing it, but I want it to live in future, and it will live in future. But I thought if I was to keep on going on about it, then it would probably, you know, kill itself, and people would get sick of it. And I hopefully left it on a very nice point. I didn't feel the negativity towards it clapping towards me, but you know, there probably could have been some of it. You know what it's like.
But I think you connected denim so beautifully to this whole moment. I mean, well, okay, there are so many plus negatives and positives, of course, but this connection, beautiful connection of denim was what you created was.
It's strange. It's what I always say about denim. It has so many dualities, and on the positive side, it is democratic. It's universal. We all can wear it, and that's what I liked about the hands. And obviously, I opened it to other artists' hands, and you got different colors and shades, and often loads of colors in there. But mine, with it being blue, it wasn't white, it wasn't black, it wasn't brown, it wasn't any different color. It wasn't. And because I have been hard work for years, but because I'm not a hard laborer, I've got quite girly hands probably. So like it was probably quite unisex. Like blue, like NHS and medical blue. So you know, nobody saw like any particular pair of hands. And you know, it was, you know, people wanted to put words over it, or like, or you know, by Ian Berry, and I was like, no, don't put any more, don't put anything like that on it. I don't want it to be about me. In fact, in the first few weeks, I had quite a few TV interviews and stuff, and I declined to go on. And this was, you know, the first week that I kind of launched it, put it out there, because I was tired. I was just
Yeah.
I think it was, you know, we're all very skeptical now about people. I just thought, if I do this, it wasn't meant to be this. It was like me and my son. It was also like they all wanted Elliot to be on, and you know, I wanted to kind of guard him away from that. And I was a little bit like, maybe in a few weeks, if it's taken off, we can do something. But I didn't want it to make it look like, you know, because I was skeptical as well. I saw artists and different people, and people in denim all trying to do stuff to jump on the bandwagon. You know, often with good motives, but sometimes I think sometimes it just looked like, oh, you're just trying too hard there, and you're trying to get in the limelight. And I was a bit like, you know, if I'm trying to draw attention to this, then I'm the one on. It's like, no, it's to them, not me. So I just felt really uncomfortable with that. But I think too much. I overthink everything.
Oh, I mean, you've done you've done a wonderful job, and you created something unique. So, I mean, people
Thank you.
always say something. So no worries on that. And coming to the exhibitions, as you know, our all the exhibitions this year, even three of my exhibitions and all of the major exhibitions around the world got postponed. But you were able to manage an exhibition. How could you do that?
Well, I mean, timing for one. I mean, I did lose a few things early in the year. But luckily I hadn't announced them. I'm not very good at announcing things, and I always think I'm going to jinx it if I announce it too early. So even like the one in Holland, which is going on next month, I'm very scared to over talk about, because I'm thinking it's Holland's numbers are going quite bad at the moment. I'm just like, will it go on? Will it go in a different way? I mean, luckily that one's on. I mean, it's on till from November till April. So it's quite a long run, but it's also like you need to have that momentum at the beginning to really get it going. So I have one on in Germany at the moment, as we know, Germany didn't get as affected by a lot of things. I think their results are going up higher at the moment as well, like everywhere. So there's different rules since I was even there. There's different rules of how many people can go in and how far you can travel, I think. But Holland, I was there just a few weeks ago, and it was like so refreshing because it was quite relaxed. In Germany, we all had to wear masks, which I'm okay with if we have to. But in Holland, you're only on transport, you had to wear them. There was really nice weather. It was like it almost made me forget COVID was going on. We were planning the exhibition, and like at that point, you could have unlimited numbers as long as it could be 1.5 meters apart. But it's a big museum, so we could have quite good numbers. And then within a few days, brought new regulations out. And now we're just having to monitor it to see what we can do. But I'm scared of inviting people and then, like a wedding, having to say, well, actually, can I uninvite you, and can you come the next day? So I'm still like working out all that, and while still making some of the work, and preparing for a new book. So a new book's coming out, and all these other things, which a lot of people that I don't think really see all the hard work in the background. Like I feel like I'm working every day. And
what kind of book?
So it's like a catalog to go with the exhibition, but it's it's actually going to go through, because I think the curator actually really liked the idea of showing my exhibition historically. I think I've given him the oldest piece is 10 years old, because she wanted to show like the breadth of work and a bit of a retrospective in some ways. So I've gone back and said, well, can we do it as a, like drawing that in, but trying to bring a theme together? Because I think a lot of people actually miss my themes, because, we all talk, oh, it's made of jeans. And, I've had those viral posts of, oh, can you believe this is made of jeans? Which, it gets a message out sometimes, but it's the wrong message, because, like a lot of my work gets missed off, especially taken out of context. For example, like the record store, some people have just published one of the albums, and it's just like, oh, he makes records. It's like, the reason I made the record store was actually one, the vinyl shops were all closing down at a time. It's actually got resurgence now, but that kind of independent record store was closing down like other independent shops. So it's kind of a nod to the high street and what we're losing. And by recreating that out of the material we see every day, and something we see but walk past, it was showing something we see but differently. And then I chose the albums all by the denim history, because it's something that fascinates me by denim is that there's a time when we didn't all wear denim. And it's very easy to do Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, which that's how I started as well. But to then go in and find out the little nuances of it, like the 70s of the CBGB scene, that's what really interests me. Like seeing Malcolm McLaren, seeing television, Richard Hell wearing it, coming back to England, recreating it for the Sex Pistols, and that kind of spawned the look of punk. I just found those little things, just really, really fascinating. So I was trying to tell that story in the albums. So when people were wanting to buy them as individual pieces, I was saying, no. I mean, I could be a millionaire by now if I'd have been selling all the albums one by one, because that's what people just wanted. I was like, no. And one guy bought all of it together, which was the installation, because I was saying that's the art, the choice of albums, the kind of, as a record store, that's the art. Individually, it's kind of just copying somebody else's artwork. Which I'm not a fan of. So then the other work is all about community. Like even the pubs are closing down, the laundrettes are closing down, and these are the places where a lot of people in Britain meet each other. It was the same with a record store. Like it went from 3,000 newsstands to 300 in New York. And it was, if you think of an old film, it's where people are all reading around, getting the news, and obviously we all get it on our phone now. But I did that piece in 2012, and it was, after being to America and seeing how many are closing down, and any old film has the newsstand in it, like extra, read all about it kind of thing. So I wanted to portray these things that we're losing, and then, to bring it back to the isolation, which, a lot of the pieces I did always had a single person in. Between you and me, there's probably only two people listening. One of the reasons why there's only like one or two people in is because obviously it's a lot of work to do people, and also, even if I do a big piece and a person is in it, they're quite small, so it's very hard to do faces small because of the shadows. But then I liked that, and I liked the isolation in it. So then that's why I carried on this isolation theme for years, which has obviously now taken on a new meaning with um, this
COVID.
isolation. So my behind closed doors took on a very new meaning. So that's what I'm kind of hanging the hat of the exhibition on. Of, you know, even if I'm showing an old piece, I'm going to actually show it in an installation of a home, and a lot of it will be my home because that's where I spent my isolation. So you see that I'm sat in a denim Chesterfield at the moment. So I've got a leather
Okay.
Chesterfield upstairs, and I've had that remade into denim. So it's got nice cone denim on it, and had that
Looks
made.
like
And there's
leather,
going to
you
be,
know,
and
it's
then there's going to be a lot of surprises, and so it's not going to be the way to display, because obviously any artwork can be in the home, and it's going to be a nice way of linking a few things together, and hopefully telling a story. The Secret Garden is going to have a little twist to it this time, a local twist. And we'll have part of Hotel California as well, which will be the end of the exhibition, a little bit like that, you know, because I don't go on holiday, but I do travel. I don't get many holidays, but I'm always traveling, and I do miss seeing places and going places. But yeah, obviously, I'm just in Germany. We were just talking about that, and
well, the Levi Strauss exhibition.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, that was brilliant. I mean, I think I love the history of denim, and obviously that is a very, very important moment. And I figured that a lot of my museum shows were in different textile towns, as well as sometimes having a denim history angle. Um, so ironically, the Dutch one is a museum famous for showing textile art, but it's not a textile art area. But if we can, you know, bring Amsterdam in, and it's probably more of a recent history of denim rather than anything historical. Um, you know, but then there's some that I can't quite mention yet because I don't want to jinx it, especially with COVID. But next year I'm showing at the National Textile Museum of Sweden in
Okay.
Borås, which there's a lot of, you know, cool denim brands out there, and it's also the industrial revolution of Sweden. What happened there? It's and you know, I don't know if you know, I lived in Sweden for 6 years, so it's a
You told me.
museum that I really knew, and it's really fantastic space. And the university next door is so incredible and innovative, and so I'm quite looking forward to that. It's going to be a really big show. There was going to be my hometown, but I did tell people that, and I think COVID has affected that one. But I think I've replaced that with something quite interesting to do with the word jeans.
Mm.
And then some over in America and around. So all of them kind of had this denim history or textile history.
Even San
So I was,
Francisco one.
um, so the project I did in San Francisco, which we're just about able to go out with, is so that wasn't a museum. It was actually, in some ways, it was more exciting because it's part of the biggest redevelopment of San Francisco in many years. Um, so I did an installation to go in the entrance of the San Fran Flower Mark. So there they have, for hundreds of years, they have this flower market, which is fascinating because it was the only place where a lot of the different ethnic groups met. And obviously they had a lot of Japanese immigration, Chinese, European, and it was a melting pot of this, and it's grown and grown and changed locations for many years. And it's on this site. I actually visited the current site, and it's a bit of a wholesale kind of place, but it was amazing inside. But they're redeveloping it and moving it to this area, which is, you see the pictures, it's fantastic development. So at the moment they have this showroom where we're showing people it, and I've got the entrance, and it will move in to the new development. It's like $1 billion, but the realtor, the developer, is Kilroy, which is actually known. They were number two, but I think they were just about to be named number one of the sustainability development company in the world, or America, or something. I should
Okay.
recheck that. But they had a lot of sustainable credentials and things, which, as we know, everybody's using that. But they really seem to be pushing that. So that's why, you know, with me coming in, and, you know, we're showing some pictures right now, and with me coming in, it had, you know, the denim history of San Francisco, but they loved that because it represented the blue collar workers that it was keeping jobs, making jobs, like hundreds of jobs, the redevelopment, acknowledging history, upcycling, because of their sustainable background. So it was a project that I did with Tonello again. So I was there in Italy when I could go to Italy. I miss going there, and lasering, lots of denim, and that was cone at the time from white oak. So there was actually 22, 25 meters of it, and front and back. So it was like 50 meters of. So there's a lot of work. So me and a couple of assistants were hanging it for a week or two out there, and I think we were there at 4 o'clock in the morning one morning, all hanging it up on the lifts and things. So it was a really good time, and ironically, that's actually when the time that I actually was there and flew down to LA afterwards and took a lot of the pictures for Hotel California. So yeah, it was a good trip, and that's why I wanted to bring it back into the studio and make work on that, because it was just a good memory. And Tonello as well, I've been like, can we talk about it? But because it's been such a big project that they're wanting to time, because I'm just a part of it. I'm just an entrance of this $1 billion project, so it's a tiny part. So they've been like, we can't talk about it yet, and then we're about to launch when COVID hit. Show everyone. So I think this next week we're going to show, and
okay, starting next week.
Shows. Yeah, but yeah, you're seeing images right now.
But you would be able to travel there?
Sorry?
You would be able to travel?
Oh no, not there. It won't be launched. I won't be there. I won't be going. I would like to go back and see it. And obviously, when it moves, I'd like to probably help and probably upgrade it a little bit and freshen it up a little bit.
It would be wonderful to see, what that project is also. Every time I see your paintings, the new creations, I always wonder, okay, how better can it get next time? Because for me, it looks like, it's the limit already, which has been touched. But every time you seem to set up a new bar, increase the bar, raise the bar, and it keeps on improving, keeps on adding so many new elements. And as we were discussing, sometimes people ask, is it painted? Is it really this painting paint has been used in this or not? But actually, it's all denim. So
yeah. I think, I mean, it's something like, like a lot of people obviously know that, a lot of people have been angry as well of, I do get copied a lot of, a lot of the mills, for example, ask me to work with them, and then they get someone to work like me, or like I find something on Instagram, and, we approach the people in, certain countries, and, somebody says to them, like, you realize that's just like Ian Berry's work. I'm like, oh yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we were giving his pictures for inspiration. It's just like, yeah, inspiration and copying is a very, very fine line. And like, I mean, the Secret Garden got copied 8 times that we found so far.
Oh.
And a company in Brazil did it, Russia, and it's just like, but they have that mindset when somebody approaches them, and sometimes legally, sometimes not. I was like, oh yeah, you've seen Ian Berry's work, right? Yeah, you've inspired of this, and goes, yeah. Like, oh yeah, our bosses gave us like printouts of his work, and it's just like, and for me, that's a different mentality and different world, and I think that's where like I sometimes clash with the denim world, is maybe the purity of trying to create art and originality and things, but the positive of it is that I'm always pushing to go better and better and better. So like all the, I don't know if we have prime time here or anything, but all the bullshit kind of, tacky mills and stuff that, commission people to copy me is like, thank you in some ways, because it's pushed me to be better, to spend more time on each piece, to push it, and think where I'm showing the work, and, you want it in museums and in galleries and quality to actually show the best. So it's always striving to be better, and it's pushed me to be better. And like, I don't pretend I own denim. There's lots of creative things that you can do differently with denim, and some people are, and many of them become friends. So it's not like, you know, it's this world material. You know, I keep saying that, like, the reason I use denim is I portray a contemporary life, and for me, very few materials actually are the material of our time. Some people could argue plastic and things could be part of it, but it's something which I just see so much. And over recent years, I've actually realized that it's more the indigo that I love rather than jeans, if that makes any sense. Probably a good thing,
Makes a
and
lot of
I
sense
know the
because
Indian history.
because
It,
actually denim is, I would say, if you ask me, denim is denim because of it's 90% indigo. It's
yeah,
like entirely is because of indigo. If
yeah,
it was not indigo, then denim is normal fabric. It doesn't. It's not different from any other fabric.
yeah. I mean, it's
It's
been
only.
about 9 years since I used any color, and like I used to use some colored jeans sometimes, very rarely. But people say, "Oh, we use color," and yeah, I did a really nice one in black and grays. But I love the color, and you think blue is cold. People think blue is cold, but it's something that fascinates me about it. Is like there's some of my pieces, especially when you see them in real life, have this warmth in it, and I find indigo is actually a warm color. If that makes any sense at all, it's so rich and deep that yeah. And I suppose as well, I've noticed that indigo is very on trend at the moment with I know it's not indigo, but like cyanotypes and dipping and that kind of thing is very, and it's still Pantone 2020 year of blue, which I think everyone's forgotten about because I think the blue was used for a different different mentality way.
Yeah.
But I think it was very on trend, and I was also lucky when I started with becoming more of a professional artist with it. That denim was really on trend at the early like 2008, 9, 10 time, and I think it became really. It's always on trend, but I noticed, and then I moved to Sweden where it was really on trend. So that meant that everybody was having denim articles in magazines and things. So I've always included in those. So like, I don't see denim going away. They always say denim's a timeless fabric, and I agree with that. But I would say for quite a few years, it's had quite a good run at the moment. A very on
Yeah.
trend. And growing up, I didn't like jeans. I
You
hated
don't
them.
like jeans?
Yeah. I don't think my mum will be washing this, but my mum, like the way, not the way my mum washed them, but the way they came out of the wash, they're very hard. And I never liked the feel. So I was one of those chavvy kids, if you know the word chavvy kids, who wore tracksuit bottoms and that. But then we had the combat. Like I remember around 2000, we were all wearing combat pants, and so it was only after that that I really got into denim. It was very late, but I got really interested in jeans.
No, you came late, but you came very much. You went very much deep and came on the top. I would say, uh, at a global level.
Yeah, and
And
so it's a strange little tidbit for you is when I went to Germany, maybe during lockdown, I put a little bit of weight on, and also my favorite jeans. I went and visited Atelier Denims in Nîmes in France, which obviously gave the name denim,
yeah,
and uh, I wore them and it ripped so much that I hardly can even take them. So I didn't take them to Germany, and then I tried all these other jeans that I hadn't been wearing, and I couldn't fit into them. So believe it or not, I had actually no jeans to wear out of 3,000 pairs.
you need to buy some raw denim. I mean, if you don't have already, then you must go for the raw and break them in.
Yeah,
You need
well,
to
I
break them.
have. I mean, I've got like Rudy's pair of Swiss jeans. I got some for my birthday last year and meant to wear them. But with lockdown, I just wasn't. Another really thing I've noticed: if I go out, I'll always wear jeans. But then if I come back, as soon as I get home, I'll take my jeans off and put something really comfortable on. Whereas
Absolutely.
these Atelier de Nîmes jeans were really comfy. They're really nice material. I think it was Candiani, but really nice. And what he's doing is brilliant because, as I said, a little bit of history. Um, I'm talking about doing some things in Nîmes, but he's brought back production into Nîmes, and I think it was like a 300-year gap. And he had to get material from somewhere else, and obviously being a denim expert, which I am, I know that the material of what was denim then isn't what we'd recognize as denim now. And I believe it had wool in it at the time. But he's trying to, bring back the looms, what they had then, to actually make the same material, to actually make the jeans from that. And he hasn't, like me, hasn't come at it from denim. He's come at it as a historical point of view and proud of where he's from, kind of area. And like, I really, really wish him all the success, because I find it really, really fascinating, and really nice eye of what he's doing as well.
And Ian, what are your views on the sustainability movement in the denim industry?
So what's interesting is that I often get brought into the sustainability question. A lot of people say sustainability artist, eco artist, been on recycling blogs and stuff. And it's strangely, like when I started doing this, I was really interested in climate, because I nearly went to university to do geography. And, around the time Al Gore brought out the truth, I can't remember what it's called now, the documentary, really happy in advertising, and I was like thinking about retraining and doing something to do with climate change. But when I was doing the denim work, I to be honest, I didn't have any thoughts of a recycling angle of it, really. It wasn't thinking of trying to save the planet. And now I'm not trying to say, hey, look at me, I'm sustainable, I'm doing this, because if other people want to say that I am, but it's just like, I am reusing old denim. I'm often using samples which would have gone into landfill, but I'm not here to always talk about sustainability, for example. It's not the reason for my art. It's a nice side point, and perhaps I will hit that head on in future. And as we all know, like I come at this from marketing. Sometimes I know when people are not fully telling the truth, and I drink with a lot of these people, and I'm probably not going to buy me a drink now. But sometimes I say, "Oh yeah, this is sustainable. This part isn't. And this part isn't." And it's a bit like, I really love my friend Frankie. She's got a brand called To Be Frank, and she has a coding system on like 4 circles, which is showing like about probably how much water is used, is it ethically made, with staffing, because I think when people are talking about sustainability, they've stopped talking about the workforce. And if they're cutting costs and putting more costs in that, I'm always a bit worried about, especially
the human part.
Yeah, because people have been less talking about that. And to be honest, like the final thing I'd say on sustainability is sometimes from the outside, I'm meeting a lot of people who are always finding new ways of making something sustainable, which I think is great. But sometimes it's only like one pair of jeans out of the collection or something, and sometimes that kind of jars against me a little bit. But people have also got to make money, so it's such a hard, nothing's black and white. But I don't know, sometimes it's always like talked about making more and more and more, and perhaps it's a consumer issue rather than the denim industry. It's like people are just always buying more, used to buying more, wearing it once. And it's very well making lots of sustainable things, but still then it's the traveling, it's the, I get sent sustainable jeans, or 4 or 5 of them, and they're all in plastic bags individually. And sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to get them sent anymore. Wearing the old clothes like an art student would. And a lot of people are making amazing stuff with old clothes and bringing them back to life, like Beyond Retro, for example, and like a lot of interesting people remaking things. But it's also a massive world where we probably still need mass production. So it's, I don't know enough about it. I'm not gonna like walk into a trap and like annoy a lot of people, but it's just that kind of outside view. It's just like sustainable ways of making a mass still. And I don't know if that makes sense, whether I even understand the industry enough to comment on that. Because it's better to make the mass sustainably than how we were. That's to be applauded. That's to be applauded. But I still think there's a way of our society, and this is not just for denim; it's for everyone in textiles, for everything and everything. That kind of IKEA mentality of you can have something for a few years and throw it away. is not sustainable.
I mean, we have to follow the mantra of less is more in all our aspects of life. I mean, all consumptions, I would say, not only denim.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my mentality comes from I changed my direction when I went backpacking and ended up in Cambodia and Southeast Asia and stuff. And it was there where I decided that I didn't want a lot of possessions because I love to travel and leave easy. And now I've got 3,000 pairs of jeans and a house and studio here, and I feel very anchored here, and I don't really like that, especially in these times. I mean, I can't go and work somewhere else. People want artists in residence, or can you come and do this? And it's just like, I need all the jeans. I can take 20, if I use 20, 30 pairs in a piece of work, before I start, I don't know which 20 or 30 pairs that's going to be. And it's those little nuances which take me a long time within all this mess here. And if I'm away, then I wouldn't have that. So I think less is more. And that's how we all should live and cherish things. And an outsider's point of view is, I went to university. One of the universities I went to was in High Wycombe, which you've probably never heard of, but it was a place famous for making furniture. Even the football teams called the Chair Boys, for example, and everywhere just closed down. And I remember being at uni and always walking, the smell of varnish in the air. And all these places closed down, and people don't want this handmade furniture which will last generations and a lifetime. Well, they all just want all this quick, put it together furniture, and it's kind of, I don't know.
Use and throw.
Yeah. And, so I, but I'm, a lot of the pairs of system other jeans which will last a long time are handcrafted, are more expensive. I can buy them. I'm lucky enough to be given some pairs, but I'm quite happy to wear them and think I'm going to wear these for 10 years, maybe longer, when I lose weight again. So it's such a balance that sustainability seems to come with a price as well. And it's all very well as talking about it in a way that we, again, it's a bubble, not everyone can afford it. And I did a lecture in Kentucky or Tennessee, and it was around the time that White Oak closed down, and I said, does it bother you that, me thinking I was in kind of that area of America, does it bother you can't get American-made denim anymore? And people said, no, it's just always just remember this one lady said, no, not really, as long as I can get it in Target cheap. And it just really upset me.
That's true.
It's just like really just it was just kind of upsetting just to think, because I'd like to think that this time, and especially in those early days of lockdown, it was so much fresher, so much nicer and brighter. A lot of flowers came out. I've got the canal outside, and there's swans, all the cygnets, all the birds. It just felt brighter. And then David Hockney came out and said, like, don't forget they can't cancel spring. And it just felt like a really positive time. But all the thing which people like Greta Thunberg has been saying, you could see outside, everything felt fresher. Me in London, we get a busy road near us, it's very polluted. Everything just felt fresher, and you could see the actual evidence of it. And I'd like to think that people would actually embrace that and try and put all these talks into better action. If anybody's watching from Holland or like Benelux area, if they want to come and see the exhibition, it's on in the Museum Rijswijk, just in The Hague, which is opens November 28th until next April the 4th. So there's quite a long gap of being able to go and see it, and hopefully more people can see the work in real life, and as well to see a lot of the denim community and friends from Amsterdam and all around that area.
Really, I want to thank you for sharing your so much of your background and what work you've done, and everyone is so much inspired globally with your work. And I thank you, Ian. Thank you so much, and all the best to you for all your exhibitions.
You too. I hope you can get your shows back on. And
thank you so much for that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.